Hey everybody, welcome to episode 90 of the All JuveCast, and this one was a little bit spontaneous. My man Saeed here reached out and he
Cheers.
said, yeah, Alberto, let's grab a beverage and just talk. Treat it as a little therapy session because everybody's going nuts missing Juve. So not how I wanted to enjoy my first beverage with you, Saeed, but
That's true.
cheers. Under these
Nice. Cheers.
circumstances, salute. And why don't you let us all know how you've been doing? How's things?
I'm doing well, man. I mean, I can't complain. I always say, as long as you have your health, you have your job, then that's good. I mean, in these situations, I know everybody gets bored at home, and it's not the same. You can't do a lot of the things, but hey, just be happy you're not laying on the bed to a ventilator or one of the workers out there doing all these things. So God bless them. Shout out to all those people.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, that's all I can say is like, thank God for now. I think things are okay. It could be a lot worse.
yeah,
So it's not
uh,
too bad yet.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, everybody's just got to do their part.
Yeah,
We're all on the same team right now, and we
that's
just
it.
gotta, yeah, do what's right, be smart, and see this thing through. But
Yeah,
yeah, big shout out to everybody that's in the front lines right now. I've got
I
a
imagine.
couple followers that I know of. Daniel Jafari, who's been a guest on the LUV cast, and Monica Loriola's also been on the podcast. So big shout out to those two. There may be more that are followers. I'm not aware. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
big shout out to everyone in the front lines right now during all this. I couldn't. I know what it's like for me and my family, and you even expressed, some of the frustrations, feelings of not seeing family, and whatnot. But when you're exposed like they are, I could imagine it being even more difficult. So yeah, definitely, big shout out to them. Uh, we've got quite a bit that's built up, surprisingly, even though, there's been no games or anything happening. There's news like nonstop circling Serie A, Champions League, Juve transfers, and we're just gonna talk a little bit about everything. We'll start off with just the season itself. Serie A, Champions League, they were putting out dates. There was rumors of all but 5 teams wanting to just shut the league down for the year. Just say
Hmm.
that's it. Champions League was setting out dates, saying that we're gonna finish Champions League by the end of August, which would be right around the start of the next one. And you know, you I don't want to seem pessimistic by any means, but I just don't understand how they could be throwing out these dates.
Yeah.
What
Not
news?
based
What
on it
news are they
right now.
getting? What are they seeing? Like we know the numbers where they're at. You see that daily. It's everywhere. I just don't understand how they're coming up with this, and I never really pay much attention to it because you can't. Like it's
Yeah.
so unknown right now, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
so my theory is let's discuss what. Let's say we can get starting to play sometime in later May. Let's just say that's kind of the thing. How do you think we should approach Serie A finishing up and Champions League? Like, what are some ideas you think that? Because there's a lot of hypotheticals here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if we talk about shutting down the league, we already know what Agnelli said. He wouldn't accept the title. You know, we know who would. But he
Yeah.
doesn't want to accept it, and I kind of
They're
do you
actually in
agree?
third place too, so it makes
Yeah,
it very.
and how do you feel about that? Like not accept. Like part of me is just like I just want those tears from the rivals, but a part of me is like no, we're better than that. Like we win them on the pitch,
Yeah.
and we don't need to. But it would be fun just to see the uproar, right?
Yeah,
But
what are they gonna say now, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's you know, uh, the question is, I guess the funnier question is, would he have said that if we hadn't won a Scudetto in many years and we came this far, right? So
Yeah.
it's easy to say after you won eight, right?
It's easy to say
But
when you're on top. Yeah.
yeah, you don't need any more. But I think it was the right thing, obviously, and it was a very classy thing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he did that. I mean, I definitely think we deserved it, obviously, even because if you count the number of the games, we finished at the top. But yeah, I mean, just because it was such a close year, and I feel bad because I was actually enjoying that it was a three horse race, and even Atalanta was almost there. It was actually it was getting fun, it was getting fun to have those games.
When we were struggling, we had that long lull. And it literally dated back to our first matchup with Merda. And we went through this spell where it was just like, man, why are we not progressing anymore? Like, and as we were getting closer to that big matchup, the last one with Merda, back in Turin, and it was just like, we're getting close to that. And I kept saying, I go, you know what? Like, I could feel it. I could just see. I had this dream. I was like, where we played our last best match against them. It's gonna come full circle. We struggle, nobody sees it, and then all of a sudden, it's gonna take them and this anti-Juve thing to bring us back up to where we need to be. And then we're gonna smash them. And then I said, we're gonna come around and everything's gonna level out. We're gonna start getting things right in Champions League. And then it just all this happened after that match, and it was just like, no, you're just not going anywhere now. And it was one of the best Serie A races going. Like, Lazio was just all in.
Yeah.
Merda was still in there, but man,
I'm glad we did play Inter and we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine if we didn't play that game and it was still hanging and the season ended, right? Let's say we scrapped the season.
Yeah.
Forever they would have been like, that was our year. We were gonna win. Maybe Lazio would have even said that.
Yeah.
But I'm just so glad that game is out.
Oh, man.
Because if you look back, it's just like, hey, we didn't take the title, but we still finished at the top.
Yeah. No, that was at least such a, if it was gonna shut down, then that was at least such a nice way to do it, man.
Yeah.
And Dybala's goal, I've watched probably 1,000 times.
Dude, we erupted. We were at number 10 at the Heroes Place, and it just erupted, and it was. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
But it's sad. It's sad to lose the season,
Yeah, and let's get to the season. I mean,
yeah.
What do you do? I mean, can they actually just end it and call it like that and just say where the standings end? How do you personally feel about that?
My feelings change week by week, right? Because now, maybe a couple weeks ago, I would have said, yeah, maybe there's a chance we all start back up. And even in June, you can still try to get everything done in June and July and maybe have a late start to the season next year. But the way I see things, I mean, I don't see how we could possibly even start things even at the end of May, because that's only 7 weeks away. And that's assuming in the next, because you have to think about the preparation and all that stuff, you have to come up with the schedules. The teams have to go back into training, at least have 2 solid weeks of training before the games start, because everyone's and I mean, we have players that are positive, how's their situation?
Yeah.
Can people like Dybala, Matuidi, or Rugani even play a game? I mean, how's their lungs? This is another thing that scares me, is that these players that have it, what exactly is going to happen to them? What if Dybala or Matuidi can't play anymore? We don't know the damage to their lungs. And so I don't see how possibly even 8 weeks from now, even if you come out, whatever date they come out and say, okay, it's okay to go out, I think we still need a month after that to restart things, And it's a scheduling nightmare too. I mean, so yeah, it's sad, but I don't see it starting until at least July.
Yeah,
So if it gets to that point, what do you do? I would
yeah,
say like, yeah, maybe canceling the season is probably the best thing.
yeah. You bring up a really good point with the condition of the players that did get it,
Yeah, yeah,
right? So it's like, what, guaranteed they haven't pushed themselves as hard as they would in training. I mean, you could train at home and do whatever, but I doubt it's the same as in the camp.
yeah.
So yeah, that like, how long are they going to need to be, up to the standards?
Yeah.
Will they be up to the standards? That's all up in the air. The other thing is too, if you just end the season based on standings right now, there's way too many. Like, what does that do for the clubs that were battling for that last qualification spot in a tight race? What does it do for all the clubs that were? I think we had 4 or 5 that were within 3 points of being safe from relegation or in relegation. So it's you just almost can't just say no, that's it, and this were the standings. I think you do have to play these games at some point.
Yeah.
And maybe the solution is to cram a few extra multi-game weeks next season, scrap the preseason so the guys get their break, maybe don't do this tour where you go to either North America or Asia, like just scrap those games.
Done, yeah.
I don't know, it's going to be a scheduling nightmare.
Yeah.
And then we get into Champions.
2 months, right? 2 months to finish the league.
Yeah. And then you go into Champions League. So the Champions League is a whole nother beast.
Mm-hmm.
Because Champions League, you've got, did we have 2 teams that were already qualified for the next round?
We had 4 teams qualified, and then
there were still 4 second legs to go.
Yeah. And they were all pretty surprise teams too, right? Atletico, Atalanta, Leipzig, right? They beat Tottenham.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
But they weren't huge teams.
So Champions League, like everything I read and everything you see from them, they're pushing. Like they're pushing to get those through. There's a lot at stake. There's revenue, all this, but man, again, the players. What's going to happen? Like how, when, what's the norm? What's this going to do for the clubs financially? Like there's a lot of money on the table for these clubs, and one of the clubs we discussed was Atalanta. Like they're already qualified. Like they're through. And depending on what happens with the other Italian teams, a good chunk of the pie. Juve still had to play their second leg. I felt pretty confident we would still smash Lyon at home and make it through. But Juve as well, they're kind of banking on, that's a big thing for them going deep in that competition financially. With where they're at. So now we get into all these transfer rumors. Everybody's talking about these deals and whatnot. And Baratic even come out and said it. And I think we all kind of were thinking that's what it was going to be. And he said, yeah, it's going to probably end up being a lot of swap deals by the time it happens because there's so much uncertainty with the financials and what's going to happen. So now all of a sudden you get into these rumors and it's like, oh, Pogba this, Harry Kane, Gabriel Jesus, and Icardi.
Seriously, honestly.
And all this stuff, right? But let's just go first and foremost before we get all these rumors. And we'll treat it as realistic on deals, not knowing the financials and whatnot. We'll just try to be as realistic as possible on some moves and what we think. But first, we've got people. I saw a lot of people coming up with their must-keep list of our roster. So I want to get yours. Like who your guys are that we have to keep at all costs.
So Chesney, Buffon, I would say extend him one more year. We need a good, solid backup. People like Chiellini, Bonucci, De Ligt, Demiral. Rugani, I think we could probably get away with. So that's that from the defense. In the midfield, the only one I would say do not get rid of is Bentancur, honestly.
Yeah.
Other ones I don't care. I mean, I would say, yeah, yeah. I mean, like even if we sell Ramsey, I wouldn't cry about it or something, you know.
Yeah.
So the only one I would say is Bentancur. And then in the attack, I would only say just Ronaldo and Dybala, basically. Yeah. The rest of them can go. I would add Cuadrado to the list too because he's flexible. He can play different places. Yeah. I would definitely keep him as well. Everybody else can go.
Our lists are identical.
Is it? Nice.
That's to a T, the exact same list. I had Cuadrado with the star based on the fact that you can shift him anywhere up that right flank.
Yeah.
And then I had Buffon and Chiellini absolutely for loyalty reasons, amongst the fact that they could do their part on any day when called upon. Bonucci, Szczesny, Bentancur, Dybala, Ronaldo, De Ligt, Demiral. It's exact same. So when we get into, and I was shocked to see not a lot of people had Bentancur as a must keep, and that kind of blew me away.
Kind of like a forgotten kind of a player. People don't really think about him too much.
Well, not only that, but the deal would be awful because they haven't got rid of that clause with Boca making that high percentage off the sale.
Yeah.
So even
that
for
itself right there,
even for that alone is just makes it ridiculous to try and move the guy. Like it just. And he just hasn't given us a reason to. He's been fantastic, and he should have been there ahead of Pjanic long before all that ended up happening. It ended up taking Pjanic's injury for Bentancur to actually get the spot for a couple, and then Sarri was like, no, you know what? I think Pjanic came back for one game, and then it was like, no, against Merida, he went with Bentancur, and I was like, holy, I was just like, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
You know,
it was finally getting somewhere with that.
You started to finally realize, and that was another thing. That was like, how was Pjanic? I was looking forward to see how is Pjanic going to respond in the big game that he finally got sat down and Bentancur took the spot. That was another storyline that I was like, man, I'm interested in seeing what he does. Ultimately, I don't think it would have changed anything, and I think his time at Juve is done. Like, I think it's just gonna.
I hope so. We tend to hold on to some of these players for too long, and it's really the time for him. He's 29 now, so either you sell him or
So a guy that we didn't have on our must keep list, and I said I want to make the move and sell him, and it's Alexandro, and I took a little bit of heat for it because people are just saying no, he's an absolute must keep, and I don't see him as one. You don't have him as a must-keep either.
No.
For me, personally, I get it when people talk about just the amount of minutes he logs, and defensively so sound and everything. I totally understand. But at the end of the day, this is what I see, and I've seen it consistently for a while. Every midfielder you place on that side of the pitch struggles.
On the left side, yeah.
And when you play the same guy on the right side of the midfield, it's not like that. Rabiot is a prime example. Everybody says through this season, and like you see it in these conversations on Twitter all the time, it's like, man, Rabiot's so much better on the right. And then it's just like, well...
you think it's because of Sandro?
Watch when Ramsey's over there. Watch when Berna's over there. Watch It's the same. Matuidi, bless his soul, he doesn't have the technical ability, but it's a mess over there because Sandro stays so narrow. And he doesn't go and do those overlaps as consistently as he does. And how many times do you see that midfielder stuck out there on the flank, stuck in 1v1 scenarios, and they shouldn't be. They should be up at the top so that we can spread it out and where they can actually distribute some crosses or something. Instead, they're up there because Sandro isn't filling that space.
Yeah. I tell you, our whole left side, I feel like, is out of sync. With,
Ah,
even Matuidi and Ronaldo have like zero chemistry to me.
it
So
it's
it's
it's a
yeah, it's a
it's a
mess over
mess.
there.
But I see that, and then I'll always see a guy that Spinazzola outplayed and took his job. And I'm calling it right now, and I'm saying if Pellegrini is called back, which I believe he will be next season,
Hmm.
he will outplay Sandro. There's no doubt in my mind he will be better based on
Yeah,
what I've seen from the kid and everything, and I just think it's not going to happen overnight and right out of the gate. But there will come a time, just like Spinazzola, where he's just a much better option when you watch. And
yeah,
I think Pellegrini is going to do the same. So then my question is, why are we keeping a guy making his amount of money if he's going to get outplayed by Spinazzola? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's just, if he's going to, at the time, he could have brought 60 mil and we didn't sell him. And there was teams that were going to buy him.
yeah,
But if
yeah,
he got outplayed by Spinazzola and I could make at the time 60 million euro on him, I sell him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think we definitely kind of, when it comes to selling players, we're not the best, and
No.
we tend to sometimes hold on too long, or sometimes not know the right time to sell. And people like him and Pjanic, or even Matuidi, Khedira, those all fall into that. It's like, hey, at some point we got to move on. And Cardiff was 3 years ago. Why is this midfield still not where it needs to be? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's just, it's so frustrating. I just feel like, we get, I feel like more often than not, we get rid of some of the ones to just make the books right and stuff, but it's the wrong
the
decision.
wrong ones. Yeah, it's like that's the one you should have kept. Like
Yeah.
you should have kept Spinazzola. Why didn't we sell DeCilio or something?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's weird to me, man. It's really, really weird. And then the contract extensions, all this, like it's these decisions that are just,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God,
I
why?
just don't understand why with these extensions you bring this up. I don't understand why we just can't let a player go for
Yeah,
free.
it just,
Because we end up doing it at the end anyways. You
yeah.
let Mandzukic go free, or Benatia go free, or Llorente go. All these players end up leaving for free. So why the hell did we extend them? Just let them go for free, open up the cap space, and get someone else.
Well, I don't understand where they're coming up with the value of these extensions, like to even do them. It's just like, if you look at the market and what you're like, I just don't understand it. It's just like, why are we
Yeah.
extending them? I don't know. It
And
doesn't
and
make
I tell
sense
you
to me.
this, at the same time, it really frustrates me that we are one of the top 5 teams in the world right now, if not top 10 for sure, right? Why do we have such a hard? I mean, I understand, yeah, some of our players have high salaries or whatever. We shouldn't have a hard time selling our players. Like realistically, our bench players we should be able to easily sell them
Yeah.
for something. But we tend to just not do that and just hold them and hold them, and then some of them are injury prone, so you get more depth because you're like, oh, this guy's going to be injured. Then you just end up with a whole bunch of average players.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely. I don't really understand it.
yeah,
It's
that
just,
frustrates me more, honestly, is the selling part to me.
yeah.
That because when people always ask me about transfers, I'm like, well, it depends on who we sell. Like, it's hard for me to like say we'll get Pogba. We'll have to sell at least two of our midfielders.
Yeah.
Are we
Well,
capable to do that? I don't know.
we're gonna get into the Pogba scenario for sure. Absolutely.
Ugh,
With Sandra, one of the
that's a whole
names,
podcast itself.
one of the names for sure at Sandro, and I said I'd be all for it, is Alex Telles. I mean, he's being rumored at a really, really low fee. Like, we're talking somewhere between, like, it's been 25 mil to 40 mil, and for him, like right now, the way he's playing right now, I'm all for it. I've heard things, when I posted that I would do that in a heartbeat, because we should come out with a little bit higher value on that one, just a bit. But take that money, Put it into Tonali, who I think is a must-add for us. Just future, everything like that.
That would be my favorite signing, honestly.
So I think Tonali is a must. Take a little extra cash, make that move. Tellus is an instant upgrade. Pellegrini's coming in. I think Pellegrini would be an upgrade based on the style we want to play. Here's another thing. When I talk about the style we want to get to, this whole scenario right now has pretty much turned this season into a can't judge on Sarri.
Yeah.
So this is pretty much giving him guaranteed next year's going to end up being year one for him because of all this. I don't know. Do you agree with that though?
That Sarri would stay another year?
This kind of is like a...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're not going to... I don't think they would want to sack him and bring someone new. It'll just be let's give him one more try.
This scenario's
in a way, you could say it worked out good for him because we weren't doing so well.
Well, that's just it, right? You go from a situation where it's like, oh, what's going on? But then all of a sudden he wins a huge, crucial match. We do finish in top. We haven't played that second leg of champs, We're in Copa Italia. It's just like, man, could potentially turn this into a wash. And then next year's year one for Sarri, right? Yeah. Nobody really knows what's going to happen there, but... Yeah, so potentially how we want to play under Sarri, who I feel 100% now is going to be with us next season. So Tellus moves in. We get Tonali. We get extra cash. Right back. Right back is a problem.
Oh.
How do we solve right back? So if you start looking at names, possibilities. I know that there was that youngster that got thrown out. I can't quite remember. Hakimi, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Who's Madrid's property, I believe. Yes. There's a name. Actually, that would be pretty solid. You got to move one of Danilo Deschilio, which is fine. Take your pick.
Yeah, take them both.
So, ultimately, when Cuadrado takes your job and it's not his position... It says a lot, right?
Oh, yeah, those two, Deschilio, oh, man. I like the guy. It's funny, actually, I saw him in Turin when I was there one time. He was at the same restaurant.
Oh, yeah?
But, nice kid, very good guy, and he's a team player. He doesn't complain. He comes in. And, if he's not injured, he can be a decent player sometimes, but... It's just, we've gotten for so many years, and it just seems like he's one of those players that, kind of like a Costa. It's like, sometimes he's in the team, sometimes he's not. It's just that you can't count on him.
I feel like Deschilio's that kid, when you play sports and you're really young, and there's always that one kid that's kind of picking flowers or something, and he's just not quite. He strikes me as that kid. Against. Was it against Merida? He come in as a sub and then gives away an opportunity.
Oh my god! Yeah,
because he's picking flowers.
Yeah. Oh my god!
That was at the end flowers. He's that kid, man. But that's just what I think of. I just man, this kid, he's probably that kid picking flowers, and then all of a sudden, he got good enough to be a guy that comes off the bench, but he's expendable for sure. We got to get a boost at right back, 100%. So. I would love Pereira. I just don't think it's going to happen after the breakthrough, I think it'd be quite a bit of money. And we have other spots that need to be filled. And you mentioned it. Our selling is suspect. That's going to be the kicker. Because who do we have that we can move out? For me, we've got Higuain. We've got Costa. Bernardeschi. Pjanic. I think Sandro could be sold. I think one of Ramsey or Rabiot could be used to make a deal. I would prefer to keep Ramsey based on what we've seen as a whole. Because
he's been good.
He should have been pulled out of that trequartista role much earlier.
Yes.
Because since he was used as that box-to-box next to Bentancur there, fantastic.
Yeah.
It was night and day. So I would prefer he stay. But now we get into, the possibilities of the other positions we need to fill. So, forwards is a big topic right now. They want a number 9. The names: Kane, Jesus, Icardi, and Werner. So I'm going to pass this to you right now. And I just want, based on those 4 names, we're going to start with just who you would prefer out of the 4.
So Icardi, Werner,
Gabriel, Jesus, and Harry Kane.
I mean, can Gabriel Jesus, I guess, play the striker? I thought he was kind of like a winger thingy, but I would say between the options you gave me, logically my mind want to say someone like Icardi, but I wouldn't mind seeing Werner.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of more of like an underdog person. Harry Kane, that's a horrible deal. The guy is on a knee injury till God knows when. I would not even bank. And that style, I don't know. I don't think he could do it in Serie A. It's not the same as Premier League and all that. So, no, I definitely wouldn't do. But Icardi, I mean, that's an amazing player. I don't like him and all the little baggage and stuff. But he's an excellent player. But I like Werner too. I know he's been around for a bit. He's more than enough. And how old is he? Do you know? He's pretty young, right?
Yeah, Werner's pretty young. I believe he's in that 25 range. Let me pull it up here.
So yeah, I mean, I think I would say either one of those two, either Werner or Icardi.
He's 24.
Yeah, so that's good. But whatever it is, like whether it's that or fullbacks, I think we need to like make our mind about who we actually want. I feel like the biggest thing that's been missing since the last 3-4 years is that identity and that style of like, okay, what are we gonna do? Because we keep building this team, but then Cristiano Ronaldo comes and it changes everything, and then we didn't quite adapt to that. It's like we got rid of Pogba, which was the biggest freaking transfer right there, and we spent it on a Higuain, only to 2 years later switch things up because Ronaldo comes knocking, And granted, who says no to Ronaldo? But it's like we have to sometimes make these decisions and stick with them too. We can't just change things every year.
Out of those 4 players, for me, right off the bat, it's Werner or Gabriel Jesus for me. And the reason is I like the flexibility. And I want us to kind of get that flexibility back into our lineup. I want us to go away from the in the area strikers that are so service dependent. I want a guy that's pacey, agile, that can take guys 1v1. That way our forwards, Dybala, Ronaldo, and say Werner or Jesus, they can intertwine and all perform the same tasks, and just we need a little bit more pace up front, because when we get these guys Icardi's a class finisher for sure,
not pacey,
but if he's not getting the service, it's the same as having Higuain up there when he's not getting the service. It's the same as having Mandzukic up there when he doesn't get the service. There's no alternative to our game. You're so pigeonholed with guys like that, right? But when they're on and the service is there, great. It's amazing, right? But I want to go away from that. And Gabriel Jesus is really, for me, that's the route I think we would go. He's 22 years old. Man City.
Damn, he's only 22?
Exactly. He's been playing with Man City since he's 18 or something. So everybody's this kid. Somebody said the same thing to me on Twitter. They're like, well, what is he, 26, 27? I'm like, he's 22 years old.
Wow.
Because people were ragging on his consistency, and I'm like, he's 22. I'm not worried about...
There's that whole thing about Brazilians, right? Especially Brazilians at Juve.
I know,
But
but
and
I
but yeah, I
I
mean,
think if we limit how many there are at a time, so we get rid of Sandro, bring Gabriel Jesus in, we're
oh
okay.
yeah,
Just gotta limit how many at a
yeah.
time. But no, Costa, I
We got
think
Costa.
Costa can go to Man City. Like Man City would take a player like that. I believe it.
I know that would be actually a good deal if we do like we were talking about that this year. It probably won't be too much money. It might be
Yeah,
swaps.
there's gonna
So
be quite a
maybe
bit of
like yeah,
swaps.
Costa, Gabriel Jesus kind of a thing.
You have a guy like Costa that could entice them. You know, a
Yeah.
pacey winger like that that's got all the 1v1
Hey, why
skills.
not give him Costa and Bernadeschi for Gabriel Jesus? Would you
Yeah.
take that?
It's like
Or is that too much?
I'll throw in DeCilio. I'll throw him in
Or
there.
give him Danilo back? He
Yeah,
really doesn't want this.
yeah. You can have this back, but no, seriously, I'm intrigued by Gabriel Jesus, and I just think if Juve could play, and I know when I posted it out there, a lot of people were against Gabriel Jesus as a pick, and that's fine. But for me, I'm all over that. The Icardi thing, again, the only thing, granted all the baggage and all that, it's not even that makes me, it's just that service dependent forward that we always get that like I don't know. I feel we need to go a different direction.
Yeah.
Get some pace to our game. Be able to counter like aggressively the way we used to. I watched some of our old matches. Like, man, we used to be able to just go at him. And like Tevez, man, we had
Yeah,
pace
yeah.
up there with a guy like that, and he just, man, we would shut the door, pump it up, and he was gone. And he would just
Yeah,
say, and we
yeah.
just need some wheels up there to help out that defense. Because right now, we're in this little transition at the back, and it's a little leaky, and we just need to help. But there's not a lot of pressure we're putting from the top, and it's a little slow up there, and we just need some legs, man.
Yeah.
We need younger guys.
I think nowadays, to depend on a striker to kind of, to come and save you, I think that's a little bit outdated. I think nowadays you need to work on your style,
Yeah.
like what is your style of it, and that's what we've been missing, like Barcelona can pick whatever things they can because they have that style that they keep using,
Yeah.
even Real Madrid or something or Bayern. But I think we're missing that style, and you could bring in an Icardi or whoever and all that stuff, but it really doesn't make sense if like you're not playing that style that
Yeah.
suits them, like we've seen with Ronaldo. I mean, he's getting his goals in, but he's also playing 90 minutes every freaking game, and we're trying to send everything to him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like to see us more define our style, but like what is that? Because we're kind of like on the fence with Sorry. We're kind of like, people are already thinking about the next one. So that changes things too, like are we sticking with Sorry or are we gonna move on? It's just
Yeah.
it stresses me out.
The whole thing, right? And that's why I say this literally is just all going to be hypotheticals, right? I
Yeah,
mean, what do you
yeah.
do? We get into the midfield. We talked about Tonali. I think he's just a must. You got to bring him in.
Us.
They talk about Pogba, and all the rumors. Now we're going to get into the Pogba. And number one, I'm a little surprised at how many are saying don't go after Pogba. Like Pogba's trash and all this. And, number one, look at the guys we have in our midfield right now. Pogba easily walks in and is miles ahead. So it's just like let's be serious here. Like he's miles ahead of everybody in there, and
Yeah.
the amount of all this stuff. Like it's like, oh, he was carried by Vidal, Marquisio,
God.
Pirlo. Listen,
All I'll say is go watch the old games,
he doesn't. This is the thing too, and this is one of the reasons a lot of people they tell me as we discuss this, and they say he's not a lead man. I said he doesn't have to be. He plays on the left side of the mid. He doesn't have to be a lead guy. He
Right.
requires the freedom to make all that happen up ahead, which is exactly what we're missing.
Yeah.
This guy is physical. has incredible technical skill, barely loses the ball. Very rarely. He can ping a ball in there. He can like create an assist from like just outside our box.
Yeah.
You know, like the vision's incredible, and he can score a lot. You know, on his day, Pogba's like top 3 right now in the mid, like on his day. So for me, he easily steps in, easily as our best midfielder if he joins. And people just gotta realize that, like, you know, to say he's not a lead guy though, he doesn't need to be.
No, yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think, I think a lot of people that say these things are kind of, you know, probably saying that online, but they don't actually believe it, because who says no to Pogba, you know? I mean, just that tall presence of his, that if you, like I said, go back and watch some old games, a lot of the things we used to do was we would send the ball up and he would bring it down. Yeah. We don't have anybody who has been doing that in the past, like, 4 years, ever since he left.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things, you know, Bonucci would send the ball, or Gigi would send the ball, or Chiellini. He would grab it, bring it down, or you know, Vidal did that. You know, we had decisive midfielders, you know. He was a decisive one. Marquisio was one, too.
Yeah.
Right now, I feel like we're missing that. We don't have these decisive midfielders that just push forward. I think you would be crazy to say no to Pogba. I mean, people keep talking about his off-the-field stuff or how he's treating Man U and all that. But, you know, he's going to be a different player once he comes to us. I mean, I feel like when he comes back, like you said, it'll be like a shoo-in. It'll be like, he'll fit right in.
I feel like that's where we all have to have faith in the Juve way, you know, that we don't allow players to come in and do that bullshit that's happening in Man U. We just have to have faith. How many guys did we have concerns about when they come in? I had concerns about Mandzukic. I had concerns about Tevez the most.
Yeah.
These guys, there was a couple, they fall right into place at Juve, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where we just have to have faith in our club and our way that's stronger and that's bigger than the personas and the names on the back of the kits, you know? And I think that'll come through. Pogba's been there too. He knows what it's all about there.
It's like perfect. It would be perfect. I really hope we pull that off somehow.
Yeah.
But what do you think of, like, for example, a lot of people are saying that it's too much of like a pipe dream to think of Tonali and Pogba. You think, I mean, obviously it depends on who we sell, but is that something we can pull off?
I think
that would be my dream.
So, you know, these guys didn't take these pay cuts for no reason, right? I think the competitive thing is going to be a big thing. So, player salaries and everything have been reduced in total savings of somewhere around the 90 million mark. We still do not know what's going to happen financially with the rest of the season and whatnot. So there's still a lot of variables in play. Do I think it's completely out of the question to get Tonali and Pogba? I don't think so, honestly. I think Man U's going to be pushing their luck if they don't end up doing something. The issue, what I see as an issue is that you can't tell right now what the hell Pogba's kind of thinking or Raul. I think Real Madrid is. I think he's set on Real Madrid.
Really?
I do.
I don't know why people say that. I have never believed that he wants Real Madrid.
I think he's set on Madrid.
I have never seen him mention anything. And I'll tell you this, I mean, people always want to be like, you know, oh, you're being too optimistic. I really think he wants to come back. Yeah. I think he knows. He knows that he missed out on something big. I mean, he was in the World 11 that last year that he was with us, right? Yeah. I mean, you're going from that to, like, not even being mentioned, you know? Not even being, like, selected as the top 50 or whatever, right? So I think he knows. And I mean, realistically, I don't know. I mean, maybe they can entice him with money or something, but
Well,
I don't see him as because if he goes to Real Madrid, it's going to be another Man United. You're
yeah.
going to another club with high expectations,
The
money, politics, all this stuff.
the the Juventino in me wants to believe he wants to come back. The businessman in me is just thinking about Raiola and the cash and Madrid, and they can pull that off easier than we can, even regardless of the financial burdens maybe caused because of this pandemic.
Yeah,
We're talking about some maneuvering on Juve's side,
yeah,
because they talked about 100 mil being the number. There's talk about two players needing to be worked on top of cash to make this thing happen. There's all
yeah,
sorts of these kinds of things
yeah,
being
yeah.
thrown out there, right? Real Madrid doesn't need to do that. Regardless of what happens with this pandemic, they could step in there and offer more, right? So it's just like it is literally going to come down to Pogba, and we have to have hope. If anybody wants Pogba at Juve,
Yeah.
we have to have hope that he wants to come back.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think he does. I don't know. I
I
just
hope
have
he
a
does.
special
I
feeling
hope he does. I want to see him back.
yeah, because I think he just loves the club too much,
Yeah.
and I think he misses that the last 4 years.
So
And I don't think I've ever seen him mention anything about Real Madrid or Zidane much at all, you know? So I don't know. I feel like if it was something there, we would have heard something by now.
yeah,
And
just
I also know that Man United also don't have, uh, they don't have much to depend on because they have to sell him
yeah.
in the summer. And given the situation and the financial stuff, they're not the ones to be holding out for 150. People throw these numbers, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Pogba went for like 70 or 80 mil.
Well, this
Like,
is the thing.
I don't think he's gonna get that big bucks anymore.
Man U doesn't have the leverage.
Yeah, they don't have
Okay,
leverage.
but if Real Madrid wants their guy, they'll
Yeah, they'll
you know
pay.
you
Yeah.
know what they'll do, right? So
Right.
now we get into my other question. The scenario that's been thrown around is Juve will offer Ramsey and Rabiot and possibly some more cash to bring them in. Do you pull the trigger on that?
Ramsey and Rabiot for Pogba.
Ramsey and Rabiot and a little bit of cash.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think I even mentioned that on that one pod we had a while back.
Yeah.
I was like, that would be the ideal situation is or at least one of them.
Well, that's the thing. That's where I get like, man, to
plus
lose
cash and that's it.
both kind of sucks. Like that kind of sucks. Because then all of a sudden it's like, okay, yeah, great. We brought in Pogba and now we've got Bentancur, Khedira, Matuidi, behind.
Yeah.
So it's like, that kind of hurts. Now you're pot committed to get Tonali for sure. But you got to get another midfielder. Khedira is not going to go for anything, man. Like it's going to be peanuts.
God.
So to lose both of those guys in a deal for pot, I would much rather one.
Yeah.
Let's get one. Let's spend some cash. Like I said, and here's the tough thing that this whole Pogba thing, all these scenarios are going to rely on. What in the hell are we going to be able to sell? If we can't sell on good terms after the financial burden of this pandemic, teams are going to pay the money that we're going to be able to have to get to sell these guys.
Yeah, that's what I think what Paratici was saying was right, is that it'll probably be like trades. And I think that most of the teams probably would not make a transfer.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I just think the timing, I don't know whenever that normal is back to, I think that just the timing of trying to assemble everyone back together into training camp to get ready for a season, like, I just don't see any, like, that many movements happening.
Yeah.
And the health reasons too, to just fly people around and so
like here, I'm just trying to think about this, just wrap my head around it here. See, this is what is gonna create the biggest issue for us, and why I think like the Pogba thing, like all this is like so up in the air with you, is just because we have to sell guys. These swaps are going to make it very hard. So if we're talking swap and the financials are tight, man, if you lose 2 mids to bring in Pogba, you're pretty much pigeonholed on what you're going to do, because Tonali's not going to be a swap. Like, that's going to have to be a cash.
Yeah.
So
Well, I don't know. How much money does Pescara need? I mean, they're also Brescia.
Brescia, yeah.
They're getting relegated. Well, see, again, we can go back what's going to happen next season, right? Because if they were getting relegated, they would have taken a lot less, right? Yeah. So
here's another scenario. Do we swap There's talk about if we brought Pogba in, and we were able to swap out other guys. Here's the guy I forgot to mention we would still have on our books if we swapped Ramsey and Ramsey is Pjanic. But Pjanic has to go.
Yeah.
If we swap those two, say Ramsey, Rabiot are gone, we bring Pogba in. Pjanic for Jorginho. What do you think about that one?
I mean, I would take it at this point, even though Jorginho, could be better. But at this point, I would take him over Pjanic for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Pjanic. I
think he's a better player. I'm so done with Pjanic.
Yeah, he's faded. He's just he's faded out completely. He's just fizzled with us. It's done. It's over.
I mean, it looked like it was positive at the beginning of the year. I don't know if you remember.
He came out guns blazing. He scored a bunch of goals at the start.
Yeah. In October, he scored 3 for us. He scored 3 for his national team. He looked like he was gonna be on fire, and then it just completely died. Once November came.
Yeah, and so Pjanic Jorginho, that's a swap. I threw out a little thing that I would have liked to see. There you go. Topping up.
What are you drinking?
I got Peroni here. Nice Peroni.
Got a Japanese whiskey.
Nice. I had Miran, who's actually, I believe, if I remember correctly, in California as well, in San Diego, and he was drinking whiskey on one of our episodes.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had asked him for his favorite Juve moments, and they were all sad and depressing. I was like, man, you got to stop drinking the whiskey.
Yeah, you need some more fun memories.
Oh, so good. So I was talking about Pjanic for Verratti.
Yeah.
And that one was...
That sounds good.
That was all over the map. That one was all over the map. You had many that were just Verratti, for sure, we got to do it. And then you have all the injury concerns. He's got a long list of injuries. Yeah. But he's been better in the past couple of years, very minimal for what he's missed. And then you just have people saying flat out it won't happen. I get it's highly unlikely, but I think it's an avenue we have to kind of approach and see. And then it was the source. The source wasn't strong. I get it. But these things don't come up out of thin air. There's always something. Even if it's a weaker source, there's always a little bit to it that's come up. And Verratti's no stranger to being linked with Juve. I'm actually surprised it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, especially with Raiola.
So Pjanic for Verratti, that's got me going. I mean, if there's any possibility or we miss out on Pogba, that would be a guy I'd love to have. And the injury concerns, I mean, honestly, I would still add class every day of the week and take your chances on injury. Injuries are a chance with absolutely everybody that steps in there and plays.
There's no,
Look at Mary Demirol, just like that. And
just
there's a promising center back, and that's a big injury, and it sucks. It happens. It's just like that. And
you're depressing me, man. You're depressing me.
No, man, that's a whiskey. So, yeah, man, it's just, it can happen just like that, but I will never say no to a class player like that.
Yeah.
Because of an injury list or anything like that. It's just no, if you have the opportunity to make these kinds of moves, especially if we're starting to talk about getting rid of a guy like Pjanic and taking a huge deduction off of what Verratti would normally cost, depending on what. And we know PSG has been hot for Pjanic for years. It's been like 2 3 seasons straight of
I think he's a must go. Like we have to get rid of him
absolutely.
because that's like the main. That's your main midfielder. We have. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know what management's thinking, but I just cannot see another year of going and depending on Pjanic to lead. I mean, we're talking about people like Marquisio and Pirlo were there before. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, now you're asking this guy to come. He hasn't shown it despite having it. So to me, that would be the number one to go. Is like, but then again, you know, who do we bring as the replacement that the management's gonna trust? I feel like our management doesn't trust too many young players. Like, would they get rid of Pjanic to bring in Tonali? I feel
Yeah.
like they wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, I feel like they kind of. It's a tough one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I don't really know, man. Is the tough thing with Juve is again, and we've seen it. We talked about it earlier with sometimes how thrown together it seems the Mercado.
Yeah.
You
It was
know,
like last minute.
like it's
Get
just like was
Fernandes, get Lamina. It's like, what?
yeah, like you
Yeah.
hear about what's gonna happen, then all of a sudden it's just like boom, boom, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What's happening here? Like,
Remember Matuidi? Matuidi, we were like linked with like all these players
yeah,
that year. And all of a sudden last minute it's like, oh, we got Matuidi. And
yeah.
this is after Cardiff. I was like going nuts. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I know, man. It's just that's how it feels, and it's bizarre. It seems like the structure there in the planning for these transfers and stuff. It's just like what's going
It
on here?
changes. It changes every year. That's
Yeah,
what
it's just
uh,
I don't know. It's just like you feel like they're going one way and then it goes another, and
yeah.
this is why we're gonna get into Paulo Dybala.
Mm-hmm.
Dybala and the contract extension after all the bullshit they put us through last Mercado, last summer.
Nerve wracking, yeah.
Trying to push this guy. His revenge tour has gone fantastic. He's like on 13 goals, 12 assists in 30 something games.
Nice.
Just having a hell of a season.
Right.
And the extension talk earlier in the season while we were still playing games, and it's just like you start hearing about them nickel and diming him on contracts, and you can't figure out that price. And I'm like it just, these are the ones that give me migraines, because it's just like you guys are nickel and diming Paulo Dybala. You happily gave extensions to dead weight. High salary.
I get that.
You got high salaries on free transfers coming in that
God.
have zero loyalty to the club, that have not given an ounce of blood, sweat, or tears to this team yet. And you're gonna nickel and dime Paulo fucking Dybala. It's just like, what are you guys doing? Just get the deal done. Extend this guy.
Yeah.
He's your number 10 now. He's like, just give it to him. Like, make him have. Look at what he's doing this season. Like, if that was your game plan to get him all fired up and do it, like, it worked, but reward him now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we still haven't signed a contract, but going back to, hearing all these things about Juve, but then just going out in left field, like with some round. So while I love the thought of Dybala getting the extension, I still, it means, because of what we've seen Juve do, it ultimately means nothing, and they could still sell him at any minute. And after last summer, I don't even know if, like, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't even still feel comfortable with our management in keeping him. And I know that the new report come out where they said, no, like, we want Dybala to be, that next captain once Chiellini's done and Bonucci's done. Like, he's next in line, to wear the armband and Kirsu. Mm-hmm. But, God, you got to take it with a grain of salt, don't you, after what they kind of did?
Yeah, I mean, nowadays I don't really trust anything. I mean, every transfer window, anybody can be gone, honestly. And I'm actually, like, glad Dybala stayed because, for all the years that we were always, like, worried about like a player leaving, like a Pogba or Vidal or something, right? Finally, after all that time, a player comes and just actually is like, no, I don't want to leave. Like you would have thought like all those years before, everybody would always talk about Dybala's transfer like it would be inevitable, like a Pogba or a
Yeah.
Vidal. Like everyone's like, no, it's gone. He's every year he's saying he's gone next year. He's gone next year. But he actually stayed. That actually really surprised me, and it I also wonder if like how much of his relationship with Del Piero is also kind of
Yeah.
helping him have like a soft spot for the team now, because him and Del Piero are like super cool, and you kind of see it as like he has this admiration for him
Oh
that
yeah.
kind of helps him stay. And I mean, I think again, like loyalty just seems like is not that big of a deal, especially what happened to Marquisio. But but I mean, it's like a breath of fresh air now that you see
Yeah.
like a Dybala is just be loyal to us.
I
And
know.
yeah, you're absolutely right. I think we should keep him 100%. He
Yeah.
should be.
Absolutely. So just seal the goddamn deal, Juve.
Yeah. Well,
Just
I mean, now things have changed, right? I mean, what's gonna happen with the financials? So,
yeah. I
but at least he's not going anywhere.
yeah.
At least
And
we
that
know he's probably gonna stay. So,
yeah, and they just can't and again, unless they decide to go AWOL again and decide, oh, we got to cash in or whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I think the safe thing to say is that teams aren't going to be able to do it anyways. So he's going to be locked in again at least next season because
yeah,
a money transfer like that isn't going to happen unless
yeah, yeah.
somebody persuades Juve with a swap. But I can't
Yeah,
see it
yeah.
happening, right?
Yeah, the more we talk about this, I really think the teams aren't really going to change that much next year
No,
anywhere. Like,
no.
because even a swap deal, like, how often can you get that even right? Because salaries are different,
Here's the
demands are
thing with
different.
Icardi too. You know that everybody's like hot on Icardi. He's got a lot of Juventini that are like, yeah, let's bring in Icardi. He's owned by Merda still, so it's just like, what's that deal gonna be
Really?
like?
What is that all about?
So yeah, they still have the rights to him, right? He's under Merda still. So the deal's got to be done with Merda, not
That's true.
PSG.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was alone. Yeah.
So like people got to remember that, like, what's that deal going to be like if it's not going to end up being financial, like Merida's not
Yeah.
just going to
Forget about it. They're gonna want somebody for that deal.
and Merida doesn't have like leverage too because they're pretty much, he's their whipping boy and he got shipped off. Conte was like, I'm not dealing with that. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one to see what
Yeah.
develops there. But I see that being a tougher deal to make. You know, I think Gabriel Jesus is going to be a tough one too, and it sounds like Werner wants the Premier League.
Hmm.
So, and Harry Kane. While we talked about Harry Kane, I don't really think we should go Kane regardless.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, it'll be interesting. Like these hypotheticals, all this stuff going around, like there's just way too many unknowns.
Yeah.
How do you end the season? Like what happens with Champions League? The money, like that changes the landscaping of all of this. Um, there's a lot of good quality players, and when we talk about Pogba, we talk about Verratti and stuff, like, are we better off to grab a couple players that aren't those elite names, but we just get a little more depth, maybe a little more
Oh, oh.
versatility and fill, you know?
We have enough depth, not enough quality.
Well, and that's the thing. There's still quality. They're just not elite,
Yeah.
right? But there's like, I've always admired like Ruben Neves from the Wolves. Like, they're just like a solid midfielder that could kind of do it all. Like, awesome player. It just seems like we're so caught up on going after these big ones, but it's like when we talk about the transfer strategies, you're always in on it with the big dogs with these guys, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it seems like our plan B and C are never quite there, and it becomes a scramble, right?
Yeah, I hate that.
So
I
it's just
mean,
like, why are we, and we're just like abandoning on youth. The mix, the blend isn't really there, you know? We've got an average,
no, yeah, it just seems like we kind of throw it together.
we
It's
got an
like,
average age
oh,
of
we have some
29 and a
youth, and
half
then we have
years
some older
old.
players, but
Yeah. We got average age of 29 and a half years old, you know? Granted, Buffon brings it up, you know, a lot. Bless his heart. I love the guy.
right.
He's bringing it up big time, but still.
But like stick with your plan. I mean, I don't realize why. I feel like our scouting, like for example, you see Bayern or Real or Man City or Barcelona, right? They target certain players, right? It could be from some small team, and they quite often sign players that I have never heard of, and then you might have heard of a little bit, and then but they're like a young player, not very well known, but based on their style, they're like, this guy will be good for us. We're gonna, that's what I've been missing with us is that we don't highly target someone and we're like, hey, we need this guy for our team. We just kind of, get a Cancelo. Oh, now we don't want him. Get this guy. It's just kind of like, well, what are
Yeah.
we doing? Like, I wish sometimes we had like a scout, especially for the fullbacks. I feel like if you want to get a fullback, you need a young, energetic guy.
Yeah.
So go get a young guy, target a young guy from one of these smaller teams, and get him. Why is it that Barcelona trusts these players or Real Madrid? Sometimes you need, like, we miss that. I feel like we need to target some of these younger players and stick with them, not bring them 1 year and then, give this guy out or loan the guy out, bring the guy back. Like the whole Spinazzola thing you were talking about, like, what was the whole point of that project? We started with that guy. We loaned him out for years. We finally brought him back. He had a good year, and then we sold him.
Yeah.
So then it makes you think, like, what is the point of? And then now we're doing the same thing with Pellegrini. So it seems like we kind of took some years to get somewhere, and then we just restarted the clock again. It's
we need to start getting a better blend with the younger guys. Demerol was a solid deal.
Yeah.
That was a solid deal. De Ligt was amazing. Nice to hear. He and his girlfriend loving Turin, enjoying themselves. It's nice to hear her dad talk about, they could stay there 10 years. I hope so. Like, amazing, right? That's what you want. You want these young studs coming in here, being happy, loving the way, start to be ambassadors for Juve. And want to draw them in, right? Draw more young talent in and whatnot. Because as great as the Chiellini, Buffons, and stuff like that, I mean, you got to bring in the new guys, and then you got to want these young guys saying, like, you be an ambassador, new ambassadors for Juve, not just the old guard, Right. So brings us back to Dybala and just staying and just being that guy. And it's like that just bodes well for Juve, right? But we've got to follow it up and take advantage of that and reward these young guys and not just like kind of blow it and piss it away. Like another rumor we get into now with these young guys, Moise Kean, and talking about a possible return. Now, I love Moise Kean. I was upset.
I love him, but
I was upset that we got rid of him, but now I feel like it's done. I feel like we ruined it.
Yeah, it's done.
After what he's gone through there, I feel like we've got a broken down player. Like, I just feel like it's not going to be the same.
And again, you loaned them out already twice, right?
Yeah.
You loaned them out, brought him back, loaned them out again, brought him back. Once you break these momentums and cycles and rhythms, it's done.
You've tainted the relationship there, like, which is what they were doing. He was on fire for us last season.
If you kept him and he had a good year this year, then you were building.
Yeah, but you shut down the bill,
said,
and we all know why they got handcuffed with those extensions, and they had to move these guys. They had to move Cancelo, they had to move Spinazzola, they had to move Keane because they couldn't move the other guys. They couldn't move the other guys. Yeah, Higuain needs another guy that this year he's got to go. He started off great, and I said at the start of this year, like, we just got to get rid of this guy. And he started off great. But my concern still was, I said, can he keep it up throughout the season? And he was fading pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, he was fading towards just recently before all this pandemic stuff happened and was going down. He was fading out. And I think, you know, it sounds like his time with us is over too. And it's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, these are all things we're all just going to have to be patient and wait and see what happens and ride this thing out. And who knows what's going to happen. But these are all possibilities. And I'm very, very curious to see how people feel and what they think. And I'm sure we will after this is posted on how they think the season should be, you know, dealt with. What you think we should do as far as moves and what you think would be realistic given the circumstances if it's going to be a swap basis scenario, right?
Right.
But before we wrap up here, I've been doing the fan focus episodes and stuff, and I just want to ask you one, maybe two questions about your time as a Juventino. Yeah. I just want to ask, number one, who's your favorite Juve player in your time as a supporter?
Right now or
all time? Like as your time as a supporter, who's your favorite?
That's always a hard one. That's a tough one. I mean, my favorite all-time player would be Baggio, but I wouldn't necessarily put him as the Juventino because he had different teams, right? But to me, he was like excellent.
Absolutely.
Best of all time to me. But favorite Juventino, I would have to say like it's got to be Del Piero. And just because, you know, I would say with the asterisk next to people like Gigi and Marquisio, you know, because Gigi obviously has been around for a long time, but he was also, you know, had a career at Parma. So Del Piero would be like the longest actual Juventino that has been around, has brought many years of joy. And then I would say followed by like a Marquisio.
Nice.
Because he was like a lifelong Juventino as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can't go wrong with any of those guys. And I mean, we've been spoiled as Juventini with incredible list of players.
Yeah.
What's a funny or interesting story involving you as a Juve supporter that kind of stands out? This could be a gathering, because we know you're president of the Juve SoCal Club, so it could be something that happened at a gathering, a run-in, randomly meeting another Juventino, a live match. Like, just what's a story in your time as a supporter that stands out to you all the time?
I mean, we have a lot of meetups here for the past like 6-7 years. They've all been great. I mean, each little one has its own little bit of story, because you always, especially being in LA, you get like a lot of tourists that come by. You know, depending on the game and what happens. But, you know, lots of fond memories. I mean, obviously, like having that first game at Del Piero's restaurant, that was very surreal. It's kind of like, well, first it was meeting him and all that stuff, but then, you know, being at his restaurant. But one of the most memorable ones, which I have the scarf for, is the Juve game from April 5th of 2015. When I actually went to the stadium, I saw Real Madrid and Juve.
Wow.
That 2-1 win.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I was with Farhad, and it was our first time. Both times we went there, because you know, we kind of started Juve SoCal, and we kind of built it together. So it was the first time we went to the stadium. It was just something we could have never even thought of. It was like a last minute thing where Maurizio hit us up and was like, "Hey guys," it was literally a week before. He's like, "I got 2 tickets to the game. It's going to be this much. You want to come?" And I was just I texted Farah. I was like, did he tell you the same thing? I was like, all right, we just made it happen. It was like totally last minute, spontaneous.
That's awesome.
Really ended up being an amazing game. And yeah, I mean, that's like the best memory of, you know.
And it's like, it's so hard to explain walking into that stadium for the first time. You know, like it's just like, it's like everything around you just kind of stops, and like the noise, like it's just weird, and you just like, I just remember walking through onto the pitch opening and just looking out there and just almost like surreal for a second, like I'm actually here, you know, because for me, I mean, and even you from there, that's a long ways. It's a long trip.
Yeah. It was just something I never really thought about doing.
Yeah.
You know, I always wanted to go to a Juve game, but it just seemed like very far-fetched.
Yeah.
Like, because I remember I used to look online, it was just hard to get tickets and all that. But yeah, like you said, like we were actually nervous the day of that game because it was such a big game, you know. I guess if you're just going to like a regular season game, it's different. But because it was 2015 and as far as we had gotten, and to be like that close to like the Champions League final was just like, you know, it was just something else. Because now we could go, but then it's like, all right, we already went to, you know, we've already tasted that Champions League final.
Yeah.
But 2015 was like first time you're back from Calciopoli and
that's
all
crazy.
this stuff.
That's
It
crazy.
was just like, oh man, that memory is just like, you can't repeat that. And so many legends on that field too. I mean, from both teams, it was just like, wow.
That's amazing, man. That is an epic match to be at. Epic story too. And yeah, as far as like classic matches, we get that question a lot. I've had someone reach out to me that follows the podcast, went on, just said, "Hey, what are some good matches to watch?" And I'm like, "Oh my god,
so many,
where do I start?" Right? But you and I use the same site. So I just said, look, man, like, you know, if you go around 82 to 84, you'll see Platini and Sharea and stuff like that. And I go, that's pretty cool. You watch some of that. I go, you get into the 90s, you know, and then you'll start seeing Baggio, and then you watch the UEFA Cup where he lifts that with us. Pretty cool. I think that was early 94, so the 93-94 season. And then I said you get to obviously 95, 96, just watch that Champions League run. And then you get to, you know, 97, 98, 99, you know, from 96, 97, 98, we got 3 consecutive Champions League finals. The finals we don't want to talk about so much, but you watch that run, like, incredible teams. I go, you know, you get Zidane.
The UEFA Cup, right? That was 5 finals in a row we were in. Yeah,
you get Zidane, you get Pipo, Del Piero. Like, I just go, it's crazy. Then you get into the early 2000s. You know, 2003, that Champions League run. Again, losing in kicks, heartbreaking. But that run, that team was incredible in 03.
Right.
So just like, and this site, footballia.net, I mean, if you search Juventus FC, you will literally get 30-something pages of matches. And fill your boots. And right now, I'm enjoying the classics, actually. You and I talked about it before we started recording. It's a different vibe watching, you know, like, and it's cool because I forgot about these matches, but I was still getting fired up. You know, like I'm watching, I'm just like, oh man.
I've watched them, like, you know, it almost, some of them, if you go far back, it just almost feels like a new game because you don't remember it all.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you just kind of watch it and you kind of start analyzing the way we played versus now and how it's different. And I mean, I would say now is a good time. Don't complain. Go watch these games. And I would say if you're young, go back, because a lot of these people that we talk to, they're mostly post 2000s.
Yeah.
Well, when I mentioned Baggio's and Schillaci's, not many people even remember. Even people my age, like they're like, oh, I didn't get into it till like 95, you know?
Yeah.
And I would say if you're younger, go back and watch those old games.
Oh yeah, go back and watch Baggio for sure. Sure. And
I can't wait till this Netflix comes out.
Yeah, that's gonna be phenomenal.
Oh man.
So the classic topic, and it's just funny. Before this whole social distancing thing happened, I was watching a classic. My parents had come over, and I posted because it was just so funny to me. But my dad sits down next to me and he's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "Well, this is I think it was 97, 98 Derby d'Italia.
Nice.
And he sits down next, and that was like, I highly recommend that to fans. Like, go back that era, because that was Ronaldo for Merda and Del Piero for us going head to head, and it was awesome. But my dad sits down, he starts yelling, and I'm like, oh, man, what are you doing? And he's just like, I'm like, this game's like 20 years ago, man. Like, relax. And he's just right into it right off the bat. He's like, yeah, but I forgot all about this. He's like, I can't help it too. He says, like, I can't help it. And I just started laughing, but yeah, it sticks out to me, man. Last question. Who's your favorite signing that Juve made in your time as a supporter? Like, when we signed him, you're just like, yes.
Oh, I mean, there's so many, honestly. I mean, it's, are we talking about, for example, are you saying like the signing that when we signed them or afterwards? Because, for example,
let's do both. Let's do both, because when Pirlo, I wasn't too keen because I thought, what's he really going to do? But then after, it was like, my God, what a sign.
Right.
Who was the one right initially you were just like, oh man, amazing?
I mean, I would have to go way back to when it was like people like Buffon and Nedved.
Yeah, I was going to say Buffon probably for sure.
As bad as it was to lose Zidane, but it was kind of like, okay, we lost these two and we got these two. It was nice.
It worked out.
But ever since then, it was hard to say because, you like, for example, Vidal, you didn't know he was going to be good. Pogba was going to be good. Like, all these players, you didn't know.
Yeah.
Tevez was all right. I wasn't too thrilled, but I was like, all right, cool, but...
Well, I was just going to say, who's, one that caught you completely off guard? Tevez was for me. Tevez was for me. I bought into the whole persona thing. I thought we were going to have issues with this guy. And
I did too.
He got the number 10, and it was just like...
Yeah, it was like, what the hell?
But he was unreal. For us, man. Well,
left too soon. I think he should have stayed one more year. But...
I was left at the end like, man, stay, like, don't go right now, and it sucked because we had...
timing.
Yeah.
Especially that it didn't pan out for him afterwards, Like, he goes, he doesn't get paid, then he goes to China, and it's just he's basically, to me, he ended his career way too soon. Like, he was on a roll with Juve.
Yeah.
He could have continued that at least 1 or 2 more years with Dybala next to him and all that. But, yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. I was hoping he would stay, but that caught me off guard because I was just like so surprised when we signed. I was just like, I think we're gonna have issues there, right? But I was proved wrong.
Wait till we sign Icardi.
Oh man, I don't know if I said the only sweet thing about that for me would be watching him bag goals against Merda. Like, it would just be amazing to see that, just for that alone. But, I mean, we'll see what happens. They're pretty hot on him, so time will tell.
Let's just get over this bump right now, huh?
Yeah, exactly. But just want to say thanks for taking the time. Join me. This was awesome. Thanks for reaching out and wanting to do this. I hope all of you and Tini enjoy it, and takes your mind off of things a bit and talk about some rumors, hypotheticals, and reach out and let me know what you are all thinking right now. And again, we weren't going to do this. I wasn't going to do really any episodes without matches going on, but I'm surprised at how much is still flying out there, news related, and it's a nice bored, right? It's a nice break and distraction from everything going on. So Saeed, thanks, man. Cheers.
Thanks, again, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, cheers.
And we'll definitely still be in touch, and maybe do another one soon. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's easy. That's a nice thing about this. It's very easy to get a hold of people right now.
Yeah.
Normally very, very busy.
More people are home.
You betcha. But no, thanks again. And as always, everybody, I'm still doing the fan focuses and the classic rewind. So there'll be more content for all of you, hopefully, to enjoy. And just as we go through this day by day. But thanks again for all the support I've received. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.
There you go.